bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome into the High School Fan Zone on a Tuesday night, second show of the new school year. We're excited to be back. We're going to start out in the Plainsman Fan Zone. I'm going to introduce my guests here in a minute, because first I'm going to remind you that the schedule is a little bit different this fall. Monday nights will be Estacado, Memorial, and Liberty from 6 to 7:30. Tuesday nights will be Monterey and Coronado from 6 to 7. Wednesday nights will be Lubbock High, Friendship, and Lubbock Cooper from 6 to 7:30. We're going to go ahead and jump into the Plainsman Fan Zone. I'll get to the other stuff here in a minute. I'm joined by first-year coach Jason Sims. You just told me your name, and it's
Patrick Deary.
Make sure you tell Patrick Deary.
Patrick Deary.
And Brady Curry, who, whether you like it or not, you're going to be John Curry's little brother for a while. But that's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
Definitely not.
I've watched your brother from the time he was a sophomore play, so he's left you some big cleats to fill, but you've got to leave some for your younger brother, right?
Yes, sir, of course.
There we go. Junior? Brady's a junior?
Yes, sir.
And Patrick's a senior. Okay. Jason, it's good to see you again. We spent a little bit of time together earlier today. Our wives may start to get jealous of us.
No doubt.
This time together. That's all right. I could think of a lot worse things. As I mentioned, Jason this is his first year. There was a kind of a transition at Monterey during the off season, and Jason was here. He was the offensive coordinator for the Plainsmen last year, which I think is notable when you see what the jump that they made offensively from one year to the next. Slid into the head coaching spot, I think became official in July?
I think so.
No, it was right before the ASCO. So maybe it was June.
June.
So but we talked about this earlier today. The cool thing to me is that you were here last year. So you're not coming in trying to figure things out and trying to figure out guys' names. So there's a comfort level. I'm going to get these guys to talk about it here in a minute. But how much of a comfort level is there, having been there for a year, to kind of get used to the program, get used to your players?
I feel on my end it's been extremely comfortable. I feel like the kids seem comfortable. You have to ask them that question here in a little bit, I guess. It's not just me. Having been on this team with these kids, and then our whole coaching staff, the majority of our coach staff is back. And just the relationship that we've had with the players and the coaches, and having the coaches be able to assist through this transition, it's never going to be about one person. And so it's been a team effort to transition, and feel like it's gone as smooth as possible.
You told me earlier today, rattle off that list of assistant coaches that have been here.
Andrew Murga, Coach Lott, Coach Gillespie, Coach Renshaw, Coach Ramon, Coach Perez, Coach Irving, Coach Cortez, Coach Slowick. I mean, we didn't have to replace very many coaches at all, and so especially on the varsity level, we've got two new coaches on the varsity level, with Donovan Hill, who's a former Monterey standout, and then Malik Pete, who was an all-star for Tarleton as an offensive lineman. Those two guys are new, but they have fit right in immediately. But the majority of us have been there, and so it's just been a blessing. And I wouldn't be able to get anything done if it wasn't for that group of those coaches right there.
All right, Coach and I are putting you guys on the spot now. You heard me ask Coach the question. How smooth has it made the transition that Coach was here and you guys were familiar with him?
I feel like, as far as players go, we haven't missed a beat. Adversity happened, but I feel first day we were all like super excited that we had Sims as our coach and comfortable with it, and all of our coaching staff coming back pretty much, which hasn't been the same last couple of years, and I just feel very comfortable with all of them.
It's your turn.
I feel like after what happened previously, the transition, it went over very smooth. We really, with the coaches, we built a better connection and bond, like became more like a family, and the team grew after that.
Family was a big word last year. You guys got off to kind of a rocky start, some kind of come to Jesus moments as a team, and things turned around. Patrick, what was it last season that got you guys pointed in that right direction?
After our first loss in district, we began having talks about our players' adversity and talking about like bad parts about our lives, and we really grew closer because we knew it wasn't just about us. There's deeper things to it.
Yeah. I know former Coach Thrash talked a lot about how you guys kind of learned about each other, learned that everybody's got something that they've got to deal with every day. Brady, what did you learn from that process that's made you a better player, but also maybe even helped you become a more mature guy?
I just think that we found the real stuff about each other, and that, this is bigger than football. This is real life. This will help us in our careers and stuff. And I just think it helped us build trust and for each other and ourselves even.
Because you guys had some dudes last year. You got dudes again this year. You guys had players. You had the framework in place, and it just, once that happened, it was like lighting a powder keg. You guys took off. What's your lasting memory of last season, or what's your lingering memory of last season that you carried into the off season and now into the preseason here?
Just Luke Arrington and Dez Williams and all the seniors just saying how important teamwork is, and loving each other and just being great teammates for each other. I think that's what's really stuck with us.
What about you, Patrick? What's stuck in your head about last year?
For me, it was when we lost against Denton Ryan and the team came together and we bonded and we set our final moments together as teammates. And
Jason, you got to be a part of that. Give a little bit of background on Jason. Jason's from Childress, Texas, which anybody that's paid attention to high school football in this part of the state knows that that's a juggernaut. It's history. Charlie Johnston, you played for him. You were the head coach there for 7 years, so you know how important football and kind of the bond has to be to young people. We talked about that a little bit earlier today. What sticks out in your mind about the way your guys finished last year?
I've been doing this for a long time. This year 26, and I've never been a part of a transition and watched a team shift the way they did, and it was fantastic to watch. I get emotional when I think about it, because to watch a group of kids that were not really bonded together, we were right there, could be good, but we just weren't a true team. And almost overnight, the whole team decided they were going to play for each other. I've never seen it happen that quick. And the very next game, you could watch them lift each other up and encourage each other. And what could have been people griping at each other for the exact same mistake was patting them on the back and encouraging them. And the fuel that they started to play for each other. They quit worrying about individual goals, and they just played football for each other, because they were looking at each other and going, we all have some mess in our life, and we've faced real adversity outside the football field. That's real adversity, what a lot of our kids go through, what I've gone through, what a bunch of our coaches have gone through. And so the adversity we're facing on the football field, it's tough, but it fails in comparison to what a lot of we're facing on real life. Losing a football game hurts, but it doesn't hold a candle to a divorce.
No.
Right? It doesn't hold a candle to someone passing away in your life. That when you look at it in those terms, it's real minuscule. And so then when you see the minuscule nature of the adversity you face on the football field, it's easy to look that adversity in the eye and crush it. And then while you're learning to do that, you learn to crush those big adversities that you have in your life, because it is a great proving ground. That's why football is such a great sport. It's a microcosm of life. And I know that the guys that were on that team last year, they're going to be successful in life because they learned how to handle adversity better than most kids their age ever will.
That's a good place to take a break. We're coming up on a break. We'll be back after the stoppage here on the Plainsville Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta, and we'll be right back.
Diving headfirst into Monterey athletics. You're listening to the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm going to run through my laundry list here real quick before we jump back in with the Plainsman. I mentioned the change in the schedule. I'll mention that a couple more times tonight. Reminder that a bunch of high school football is played right here on Raymar Networks. Double T 97.3 is the home for Friendship. Right here on 100.7 The Score is Lubbock Cooper. Liberty is on 93.1 Yes FM. Coronado games are on 96.9 The Bull. And these Monterey Plainsmen are on 93.7 The Eagle, with the velvet voice of David Thetford and Randy Dean calling those games. We're sitting in David's studio, so I got to be nice to him. I say it's David's studio, it's Raymar Studios, but David kind of claims ownership of it. Also on Friday nights from 6 to 7:30 on Double T 97.3 and 100.7 The Score is the West Texas Friday Night Preview Show. And then on those same two stations from 9:30 to midnight is the West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show. Those are the second one I know is something fairly new. I think we used to have a preview show. It's a renewal of that. Remember that archive shows can be found on the High School Fan Zone fan page at Double T sportsnetwork.com, and don't forget to download the app, the 100.7 The Score mobile app, to listen live or to listen podcasts of all the High School Fan Zone shows, including this one. And we're going to jump back in with the Plainsmen. 7-5 last season, got to the second round. District championship, first time, I believe, I know I wrote about this a few times, first time since, I think, 2006 that Monterey won it outright. It was a big deal. It's the district that Monterey's been in traditionally the last several years. It's always going to include Coronado, obviously. It's always going to have Amarillo High. Tascosa's in there most of the time, Abilene High. Jason, again, we'll go down the line here. Being a part of that, to be able to break through and help a team get to that level. District championships are a big deal in Texas high school football. I hope that never is not the case, because I think that's really cool to be able to grab that gold ball and put it in a trophy case.
I 100% agree, because, I mean, anytime you win a football game in general, it gives you bragging rights.
Yep.
And when you win a district championship, they're not easy to come by, especially in the district we're in, because those are some really good teams. There's some really good traditional teams that I grew up watching and paying attention. I mean, the storied history of Abilene High, Amarillo High. Tascosa's had a lot of recent success in the last 20 years. You've got, and then all of the Lubbock schools minus Estacada, from the city, and to wear the crown over them. And that was a big deal, because there's some other districts that you might be in and you win the district and it's not that big of a deal. You were the only good team in the district, and that's just the way it is. But you had to run a gauntlet to win this one, and so it makes it more special in my opinion, and I'll be proud of it. And we got bragging rights for a year, but that has a target on our back now too. It comes with a price.
Yes, you stole my thunder there, because I was going to ask these guys. It's nice to win those games, Patrick, but now, as Coach said, everybody's coming after you. Everybody in your district. I guess Amarillo High was the one exception. They got you right there at the end. But all those other teams now, they want to come and take that back from you. How does that kind of motivate you going into the season?
We'll be ready for them. We've put in a lot of hard work. After we didn't get comfortable with that winning the district, after that we started putting in more work and building more discipline, and we'll be ready to win it again.
All right, Brady, I'm going to play on the brother thing here, because when you were in the 8th grade, I think that's right, Monterey was 0-10, and I think, did John win the district championship that year at Coronado?
I don't think so.
He played on one, maybe when he was a junior. So we're coming up on another break, so we'll bring up the Curry family feud when we come back, because that's going to be Coronado comes on after you guys. So we'll be back after the break in the Plainsman Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta. This 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Monterey sports. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into one more segment of the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta. I'm with first-year Monterey coach Jason Sims. I forgot to ask you your position, Patrick.
Defensive end.
Defensive end, Patrick Deary, and offensive tackle?
Center now.
Center, okay. Brady Curry. And you're a versatile man. You're moving around up front.
Yes, sir.
That's what happens when there's some graduation. You got to get guys going. speaking of graduation, Choctaw, Oklahoma graduated a few guys. That's Monterey's opponent Friday night at Lowry Field, 7 p.m. But I'm going to guess they still have some dudes back from a team that finished 11-2, won the Oklahoma 6A state championship. And I just threw this number out to these guys. Choctaw scored 580 points in 13 games. You guys got a first-hand glance at how good they could be offensively. Jason, what's the challenge against them here in a few nights to see if you can slow them down a little bit?
We just have to be disciplined. We have to line up and understand the formations they give you. They do a lot of formations, a lot of motions, shifts. They try a lot of trickery into their offense. They don't just line up and try to come at you, and that's what's been their formula for success. They model themselves after Bixby. If you've ever paid attention to Oklahoma football, Bixby's very known for a lot of trickeration and stuff like that. So we have to keep it simple and just focus on our game plan. If we execute our game plan, we'll be fine. They're going to make some plays. It's a first ball game of the year. There's going to be mistakes that are made. There's going to be points that are scored. But I feel like it's going to be a great test for us to have to go against such a quality opponent right off the bat. And we'll learn a lot from it. We're going to have to lean on our returning starters who've been there and done that, and the strength of our team is our offensive and defensive line, and that's where the game's going to be won and lost. And the guys that we've got in this room and their compatriots that are on those lines make me feel like we can beat anybody any given night, even though the defending 6A Oklahoma State champs. I mean, it is just Oklahoma football.
They've played, I think, if I saw it right, they've played in 3 of the last 5 state championship games. They actually got beat by Bixby one of those years. Coach mentioned the lines. There are some guys back. You lose some key guys. A pretty big spot to fill at quarterback. I'm going to let Coach off the hook here so he doesn't have to talk about the quarterback as much. Brady, you're a guy who's going to be getting the ball to the quarterback. Give us his name and kind of describe what he's brought to the table for you guys.
His name is Jonah Reed. He's been a great leader so far, a great teammate. Always, after practice, coming to get some snaps with me, feel more comfortable. And he has an arm. He can run it too. Luke, he had a great arm, but he couldn't run it that much. And, I think he'll be a great quarterback for us.
The reason I said I'm letting Coach off the hook is because it's Jason's stepson. So he's got to go home tonight and look him in the eye. So he had to, I figured you were going to say something nice, but Brady handled that pretty well.
There you go. Yeah, he's going to have to go home and do a little extra film work. It's one of the perks of having the quarterback at your house.
Yes, I think I've told you before, Joe Cluley's little daughter reminded me of the little girl from Remember the Titans, so maybe she and Jonah can get together because she's the one now that's like Joe's unofficial assistant coach.
She's a pioneer for sure.
Yes, she is. Patrick, what do you remember about Choctaw's offense? I remember Q Boyd at some point last year when I asked who the best team they were, he immediately mentioned Choctaw being a team.
They were very big and physical up front, and then they had a lot of athletes on the perimeter. That was their biggest thing, was their athletes. They could really move the ball and make plays. Then I know they lost a lot of their starters on the O-line, but they're big again this year. So it'll definitely be a fight up front.
And I love the fact that now every season opener is a big deal, and you guys have played familiar names in the first game of the season. But I really like this year, or the last couple of years, that you guys play this team from Oklahoma that's a state champion. Friendship plays Byron Nelson. Lubbock Cooper plays Lucas Lovejoy. It's almost like a playoff game to start the season. How much does that kind of get you guys going, Brady, to know you've had to focus on all offseason on being ready for a really, really tough opponent?
It's a really big tone setter for us. And, they're a really good team, but they don't scare me. They're beatable. We almost beat them last year, and I think we have the guys that can do it. Obviously, what Coach said, game is won and lost in the trenches, and we definitely have the players in the trenches to win that battle.
That will be the first ever game for Jason Sims as a head coach. I mentioned, at Monterey, I mentioned 7 years at Childress, 4 at Quanah. I know I put this in a story I wrote earlier. You won some games. You know your way around coaching a high school football team. This is going to be interesting to watch you. I'll heap a little praise on you, so I'm sorry I'm going to make you blush. Really made a difference with the offense last year. world of difference from one year to the next. And now you've got guys that you're in place on both sides of the ball. So that will be Friday night, 7 p.m. at Lowry Field, and just to make sure on 93.7 The Eagle. That's going to wrap us up in the Plainsman Fan Zone. We'll be back in the Mustang Fan Zone after this break.